What's up, everybody? Thank you for checking out this episode of Chewin the Rag. Today, we are joined by very special guest and author Robert Maiolo. Am I saying that correct? Maiolo?
You got it surprisingly
Look at
right. Not a
that.
lot of people do. Yeah.
It's always like, I don't want to be the white guy that struggles with last names, you know? It's like,
That's right. That's fair.
but Robert, you and I, we were just talking about this before recording, going back and forth, trying to get this thing scheduled. We finally locked it down. The book's been out for a few months now, I believe almost a year, right?
Yep. Yeah. Around there. Getting around the year mark.
And the title of the book is literally what the book is. It's the book with no answers. And you call it's not self-help, it's more self for me, I called it self-reflection. That's what I've picked up from it so far. And I'm not even finished with it yet, to be completely honest.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, first of all, appreciate you having me on. I appreciate you checking out the book. Yeah. So, yeah, I like to think of it more as you know, when you say that you wrote a self-help book, a lot of people roll their eyes. So I wanted to do something different. And also, I didn't think another self-help book needed to be written. So I
Hmm.
figured I'd maybe try and do something different. So it really puts you in the driver's seat. I like to think I'm sitting in the passenger seat, and it puts the reader in the driver's seat and allows them to ask themselves some tough questions and find their own answers in life. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's I'm actually enjoying it, and I think it's because it's not another self-help book. Very similar to like The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Um that's more of the style of book that speaks to me. There's swearing. It's feels like personable. Um, it doesn't just feel like what you need to do to be better. It's like, no, you need to ask yourself what you need to do to be better. I can't guide you. What made you want to do that? You kind of touch on it a little bit, but in your
Mhm.
own words, like what made you want to write this book?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for comparing me to the best-selling self-help book of the past 20 years. Thanks. I could use that. Um, I think like a lot of people, I was in my early 20s and was struggling to find out who I was and what I wanted to do. And, the world felt very random and kind of almost meaningless to be a little dire.
Yeah.
And then I think I struggled with coming out of the education system where, when you're in school, you have lectures to show up to, you got papers to turn in, you know exactly what needs to be done and you know what needs to be worked on. And then you graduate and people just kind of say, well,
Yeah.
do whatever you want. Like, you
Yeah.
want to go get a job, go get a job. You want to go to Paris, go to Paris. Like, do whatever you want. So I honestly didn't know what to do. So I figured, well, maybe I'll just read what other people did and just take other people's answers and actions in life.
Hmm.
So I read a lot of traditional self-help books and podcasts and tried to mirror rich people, and it just didn't really work. And I wasn't any closer to finding out any of the difficult questions in my life that I wanted to figure out. So I figured, well, if I want answers in my life, maybe I should ask myself some questions. But then I started with, who am I as a
Yeah.
question? Well, good fucking luck answering that question. Who am I? It's a big, tough question. But then I thought, okay, what are some easier, more digestible questions that I can ask myself that can reveal something to me about myself that will maybe help me understand who I am. So instead of saying, who am I thought, well, what do I care about? Or what do I offer to the world? Or what have I been through that maybe some other people haven't been through? Or what do I want people to know about me? And what I realize is that when you ask yourself these easier questions, you can start to piece those answers together, and
Hmm.
those kind of turn into your who am I?
Right. Right.
And then I use that kind of momentum to figure out some of life's other big questions that I get into in the book, which is, who do I want? Okay, I know who I am. Who do I want to be? If I know who I am today, who do I want to be 2 weeks, 2 years, 20 years from now?
Hmm.
Once I figure that out, okay, how do I want to get there? And I kind of used smaller questions as kind of small steps and motivations that I could kind of feed off of to try and just gauge who I am and what the fuck I'm doing on this planet and what
Right.
I should be doing next and all those
Yeah.
confusing questions that I think everyone struggles with.
And those you brought it up in the book as well, like these are questions that even you're not always asking yourself. It's a job interview might ask you these same things, and they want you to. So tell me a little bit about Chris. And it's like I don't fucking know. It's
Yeah,
like I'm
yeah,
Chris. I need a job. I
yeah.
like, and then you were talking about who do you want to be, which is important, and you reference you know kids, wife, and that's where I am right now. I'm a husband. I have a son. And it does kind of help you. Okay, that's who I am now. Years down the road, I still want to be that, and then maybe more. And you kind of encourage, like, don't just, oh, I want this job. Like, make it this big thing. Make it seem almost unreachable. Like, because isn't that what everybody wants? Is something major most of the time.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I think a lot of people can fall into the trap of like, who do you want to be? Where it's like, oh, I want to be an executive,
Yeah.
or I want to, do something that's tied to my career or something like that. I think it's much more difficult to figure out like, who do you want to be as a person, as a human
Right.
being on this planet. Um, and I think what the book does very well is like it kind of enables you to ask yourself much more attainable questions that might be able to help you. So rather than saying who do I want to be, maybe you could think about like what does success mean to you, or what my favorite question in the book is what do you want your days to look like in the
Yeah.
future?
Yeah.
Like that's something I don't think anyone. It's very possible that nobody listening right now has ever thought about what they want to do 20 years from now, August 9th, 2045.
Yeah. Right.
I don't think
Exactly.
anyone's ever thought about that. And it
Probably not.
sounds, have you, before you read the book, did you
No,
think of,
absolutely not. No, I
so,
won't lie to you. No.
yeah. So, and you might think like, okay, this sounds crazy to think about my life 20 years from now. You don't even know what I'm going to do next week. But I think when you start to think about your life 20 years from now, it might enable you to say, well, I want to be a dad and I'm not
Mhm.
married, so I should work on that. I want to buy a boat, and I don't even know how to drive a boat, so I should
Yeah.
probably work on that. I want to live by the beach, and I live in the middle of landlocked Midwest, so I should probably work on that. It gives you something to work on. That's something I was really struggling with in the beginning, is I don't know what to work on. I could do anything. I had a lot of
Right.
confidence. Some
Yeah.
maybe ill-guided confidence, but I had a lot of confidence. But I just didn't know what to do. And I just needed something to work on. And if you have kind of a goal and something to chase in the future, it kind of makes things easier today where you can at least kind of know what to work on and what steps to take.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one of the things that I liked about the book as well is it kind of like I mean, you mentioned it as a map. It's literally, chapter one, you're just this blip, and then it's like now we got to fill out the rest of this map, and make the map make sense. And it was cool to think about like 2045. I have a 4 year old right now. He'll be 5 in October. 2045, I'm gonna have a 24-year-old going on, 25, and it's like at that point you could be a grandfather, and like
Hmm.
you're no
Yeah.
longer just dad, and it's like that is when you sit there and you do think about these things, and I usually listen to podcasts or books in the car, so I'm driving, and you're thinking about these things while driving, you're like, Jesus Christ, like I didn't think about that last week, and
Hmm.
now here we are.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. And all of a sudden you start thinking like, instead of, what camp am I going to put my kid in?
Yeah,
All of a sudden you start thinking about like, you know, how can I make sure I'm available to be a good grandfather
right. Yeah,
and be
exactly.
around, and is it, um, do I want to be able to help my son find his first career,
Right.
or maybe a lot of people talk about like inheritance, and like, do I want to be able to like go to my son when he graduates and say, hey, I saved my whole life, I bought you this condo
Yeah.
out in the suburbs, like here it's yours, like, what I mean, congratulations, what I mean, like, you start to
Yeah.
think about things like that, and then you wouldn't otherwise think of if you just kind of lived your life day to day.
Right, exactly. Like I spend, a lot of people spend their time just thinking of like the mundane. You know what I mean? Like I've got work tomorrow. Let me get to bed. I got work this week. Saturday's coming up in a couple days. Like nobody's really thinking past. their work week currently, you know,
Yeah.
unless they have, and if they are, it's usually like a deadline that they have to meet for work anyway. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
August 15th is coming up. I have to have this done. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, so what about after that? And it's like, well, I'll have another deadline. And it's like, Jesus, dude, there's got to be more, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I say it in the book, and I stole it from Elon Musk. There's got to be more than life than solving every miserable fucking problem. Like there's
Yeah,
got to be things you wake up for and are excited
yeah,
for, or chasing, and can't wait to do. Like it can't just be pay this bill, pay that bill, show up to work. Is my boss happy? Yeah, kinda. Okay, we'll
yeah,
try better
right.
tomorrow. Like
Yeah,
that's
it's,
yeah.
you can't do that. There's just too much. There's too much going on where that could be like the only thing to focus on, especially, you know, I know for a lot of people who might be single and stuff, that's a little bit different. But do you want to be single, or like you said, do you want that other? Because if you want the other thing, you do have to kind of go. You have to pursue it. You can't just, that's not going to fall into your lap necessarily.
Hmm. Yep, absolutely. And some people might think about their life 20 years from now, and they don't think about a
They don't
partner,
have, yeah, exactly, which is
and that
fine. That's
and that's fine too. And one thing that you probably noticed in the book is you need to be willing to understand that your plan's going to change, and
hmm
your life's going to change. And right now, the idea of getting married might sound terrible. There was times in my life where getting married sounded terrible. But now I am married because I met the right person, and my life changed, and my perspective changed,
yeah,
and stuff like that. So yeah, like these are, you know, these questions of who am I, who do I want to be. These are very dynamic, moving targets that will change throughout your life as your circumstances and your actions change.
exactly, 100%. And it's just, there's people, even myself, I always wanted to be a father, maybe not necessarily a husband, and met my wife, and here we are. Like,
Yeah.
it was just the idea of being married. It's like, oh well, it's just a relationship with the government involved, and yada yada yada. All those
Yeah.
things you say as a young person before
Yeah.
you meet
Yeah.
somebody that you want to marry. And I have friends go through that right now, where he has a longtime girlfriend. He's like, we've been talking about it, like maybe a kid would be nice, but we're not really sure about the marriage thing. And it's like, it's not for everybody. It's, and it is what it is. At that, I'm not gonna say here convince you go get married to your longtime girlfriend.
Hmm.
I have no part of that.
Yeah. But the beauty of self discovery and asking yourself questions is that the same person, two people can ask themselves the same question and come up with two different
Two
answers.
different answers. Yeah,
So it's not a one size fits all approach. It's not saying everyone needs to do this and everyone needs to do
right.
that. It's what do you think? If you ask yourself these questions, what kind of answers do you come up with? And the question, who do I want to be? Two people can answer it, and one person could say married with kids and a white picket fence. The other person could say single on a yacht in Cabo with a handful of Swedish
Yeah,
models. And the
yeah,
answer, they asked themselves the same question, but they went two completely opposite directions.
yeah,
That's the beauty of self-discovery and making this about you. Is you find what works for you, not what worked for someone else.
yeah. No, I know. I met a person 2019. I want to say I was doing stand up at the time, and she was coming to open mic, and she was homeless, and she liked it. It was like, I'm homeless by choice. I'm jumping trains. I'm in a cave somewhere, and it's like, for me, I'm
Jeez.
like, never in my life do I want to do any of that. I've jumped a couple trains, but not because I was homeless. I just needed a ride somewhere.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
that's scary enough. I don't need to make that my everyday life.
Yeah. Man,
Like,
some people live life like right on the edge. It
mhm.
is wild some of the stories you hear. What town are you in?
So I'm right outside of Albany, New York,
Oh,
up
awesome.
toward like, yeah, the Saratoga. I don't know if you're familiar
Yeah,
with
yeah.
upstate New York at all,
Yeah,
but
yeah. That's
are
awesome. I'm
you?
in Toronto, so
I was
I'm
gonna say,
like
are you?
not
Yeah,
too
yeah.
far from you.
No, not at all. I can just keep
Yeah.
driving north. I'll get there.
Yeah, 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 eventually. Yeah.
Now, are you from Toronto or
Yeah,
born and
yeah,
raised?
born and raised. Yeah, I was born in Scarborough, which is like
Okay,
a suburb, maybe 30 minutes out of here, and now I live in the city with my wife. Yeah.
there you go. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've born and raised in New York, so never
Yeah,
even
yeah.
been that way. Never went to Canada. Uh, Closest I've been is Buffalo, so not too
Okay.
far. We're right
Nice,
there.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, nothing wrong with that. Me and my wife went to New York City last March. And it was just fucking wild.
Yeah, New
Yeah.
York City's a that's a
Yeah.
different animal.
I was floored at our step. You know how your iPhone tracks your step count for
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
man, and it
yeah,
ended up being like a half marathon every day.
yeah,
It was just wild. We got sick from like you know when you like work out too much and you don't take vitamins. It's
yeah,
kind of it
yeah.
was like that. Yeah, yeah. It was fucking wild, man.
How old are
Yeah.
you?
Uh, turning 34 in November.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I'm 31, so not too far off.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, New York City, anytime I say New York, I always make sure I'm like upstate, like Albany, because it's not the same thing. New York City's just it's a different state
Yeah.
at this point,
Yeah.
like, and I'm sure, I don't know, I'm not, like I said, never been, but I'm sure there's spots in Canada where you're like, this is super busy, and then you go suburb or, you know,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Toronto's like that. Like where
yeah.
I work right downtown, and yeah, it's just wild.
Yeah.
You know what I didn't quite understand until I started working downtown. People talk
Mhm.
like 9 to 5, 9 to 5, 9 to 5,
Yeah.
but I didn't realize how many people get in the elevator at 8:30,
Oh
are in
man.
the food court at 12 o'clock, and are in the elevator at 5 o'clock. Like to the point where if you're in the food court at 11:50, there's no one there. Like to the fucking T. I didn't
That's
realize how
so insane.
scheduled some people's lives are. It is wild,
That's
man.
I've had, obviously, like you say, 9 to 5. Like, I've always had a full-time job,
Hmm.
but never had that schedule where you get to really see it live until like traffic, because even if I worked at 8, we'll just say I had to be somewhere at 10, I'm still on the road when everybody's on the road. So like you hit
Hmm.
that 9 o'clock traffic, or if I get out, but like I've had jobs that get out at 4 o'clock, and if I had to
Hmm.
stay an hour later, you hit that 5 o'clock traffic, and you're like, this is much fucking different than what I'm
Yeah.
used to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
It's so
absolutely. It
it
is
is
wild.
so insane the way people have that like down to a T.
Yeah. What kind of work what kind of I don't know if you talk about it on the podcast, but what kind of work are you in?
No, so I am in like warehouse type work.
Sweet.
We call it unskilled labor. That's what I'm in. I'm in just
Warehouse,
moving
yeah.
stuff around. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's
I worked at a where I worked, Peloton, the bike company?
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I worked in their
yeah.
warehouse out here a couple years ago before they fired everyone.
Before everybody got let go.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, I've always been like into manual labor type jobs. I had a couple call center jobs, and then like the past, I would say 5 years or so have been very much warehouse type work. I actually just started a new place. I think I told you this week, so
That's
everything was a
right.
little hectic.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, congrats on the new gig by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Um Man, I miss warehouse work. It's like I don't know,
For the most
just
part, you're left alone.
I
Like
know.
you get to do your own thing. Like I can throw a headphone in and listen to whatever I want as long as I can hear out of this ear. When it's funny because this job before it was just kind of, I'm gonna go on lunch. I didn't really have a punch in or out. This job has like a bell that goes off, and it's like you're
Oh,
like
wow.
cows, They ring the bell, they're like, go eat, and it's like, all right, I guess it's time.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Oh,
super
jeez,
weird.
that's pretty wild. That's cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Warehouses are great, maybe because I'm a big fan of The Office, so maybe I always liked maybe I romanticized it
That
a bit, but yeah,
yeah.
that's great. It's great to like go in, you know exactly what needs to be done.
Mhm.
You have that like sense of accomplishment when you're finished. That the warehouse looked like this and now it looks like that.
Yeah.
The
I think
camaraderie with the guys is great
oh
too.
man. Yeah, I think that's why I like warehouse work, is because or honestly manual labor in general, cleaning,
Yeah.
warehouse, any type of like construction or whatnot, is because if you work at a call center, when I hang up with that person, I don't really know how they felt. I
Hmm.
could have thought I was doing a good job, and they're like, I had to just fucking talk to this guy for, and it's like,
Yeah, that's right.
I tried, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the warehouse, when I'm done with what I'm doing, I could see what I did, and it's like, all right, I know I did that, or I know I need to do this tomorrow, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I like about it. I also think, the biggest thing I mentioned stand up, and this is like that's what I liked about stand up a little bit more than this, even though I do like doing this, is that gratification of like the laugh right after I say something.
Mm,
Because not all my episodes have a guest. So
mm,
I'm sitting here doing this and I'm like, hope that fucking landed. Let's just keep rambling.
yeah, yeah.
So I
Oh,
don't know if
yes.
I'm just one of those people that likes instant gratification or what, but I there's something to that.
Yeah, I think you like need something to feed off of. That's like if you ever talk to someone who like works in the theater, they say
Yeah.
they can never do television because there's no it's a one-way
Yeah,
act.
it's just
Whereas
yeah,
on theater, the audience is there and reacting to what you're doing, and they can kind of feed off of that.
exactly. Exactly. That's exactly what it is with me. And I don't know. I didn't really notice that about myself until I got into warehouse work, I think. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh, I like this way more.
yeah. What so you did stand up for a bit. I'm guessing you stop now, or you still do it here and there? Or?
Yeah, so the thing, my son, I was just
Mm,
the thing with stand up is it's a nighttime thing, you know?
yeah.
And so if you work all day, kind of like what your book talks about, I just don't want to be defined by like working all the time and out all the time. You know, with this, maybe I do have a guest that goes 2 hours, but
Hmm.
I'm going right back downstairs. My son sees me, yada yada. It's not. I worked all day, stopped in, grabbed dinner, went out and did stand up. Came home at 2 a.m. He's already in bed. I
Yeah.
woke up for work. You know what I mean? So it's like I didn't want to be out of the house that late. And like it is definitely a nighttime thing for sure as you're
Hmm.
coming up because you're constantly trying to grind to hit every open mic you can get on every show you can get. Um, so that's kind of how I found this, where I could still tell a few jokes, I could still shoot the shit, I meet interesting people,
Hmm.
um, and I'm still home. You know, I'm in the four walls still. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what transitioned me to go from stand up to podcasting and whatnot.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, podcasting is great. You get it's such a
Yeah.
unique platform and so easy to do. Like you buy your headset and your mic there and message a couple people on Reddit and there you go. You got a podcast. Like it's nothing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, that's one of those things where self reflection comes in because it's like not everybody should have one. Everybody can have one, but
Mhm.
maybe there are people that might say something where it's like, I don't think anybody else but you needed to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah.
it's, there's a lot of that, and you know, freedom of speech, to each their own. But
Yeah. I think eventually those podcasts die out. Like
yeah, I think so. I
it's
think
tough
so.
to do something for so long with no traction.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the hardest things in the world is to do something and no one gives a shit, and then you do it again,
Hmm.
no one gives a shit. And that's really I think the toughest part about trying to get something is that like that Peter Thielberg book was 0 to 1. Like just getting that
Yeah.
first little bit, I think is the
Yeah.
hardest part. And,
Yeah. I mean,
uh,
even now, you know, I'm over a year in, and it's like, you know, you don't want to get caught up in the numbers because you are still getting guests and you are
mhm,
still having conversations that are like cool and meaningful. And sometimes they're not. Sometimes it's just bullshitting with somebody.
mhm,
But you know, sometimes you see and you're like, oh, fuck, numbers are down. It's like you can't really because they might be back up next week. You know,
mhm,
there's people that would want your down numbers. There's people that don't get
mhm,
what you have. So it's like, you know, eventually it'll spike back up. There's going to be times where, and it's just, that is a grind within itself. But I think just constantly working at it, not letting it, just don't be defined by the numbers for sure. Because
mhm,
that's my biggest struggle and again, I
mhm.
think that comes back to the instant gratification where it's like I posted this episode. Why is there not a million views? It's like, why the
Yeah.
fuck would there be? Who are
Mm.
you?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it goes, I talk about this a little bit in the book, is like thinking about your why, like the
Yeah.
reason you're doing this.
Hmm.
You know, if the reason you did this podcast is because you want to be rich and famous and be the next Joe Rogan,
Right.
you're not setting yourself up for success.
Right.
Your odds are, you know, very, very slim, very as close to zero as you can get. Um, but if you created a podcast because you want to express yourself and have fun and meet interesting
Exactly.
people, then you could just do that forever. Who gives a shit if anyone listens? This is about expressing yourself and you know trying to reach a handful of people who might jive with you and that's it. So as long as you keep in mind like the reason you did it, the numbers are just like
Yeah. That's just extra shit, pretty much. It's like,
exactly.
and that's what you know, anybody who does listen to this is gonna fucking want to throw their headphones after hearing this. But like, the moment this stops being fun, I've said it a million times. That's when it's like, just throw it all away. Like, you'll never hear from me again because I'm
Yeah.
not. That's really why I'm in it. Is just I do like talking to people, obviously, and I have like stories from growing up and stuff that are just different.
Hmm.
But the moment that stops being fun, you just won't hear from me anymore.
Yeah.
The social medias, everything will be gone. Which you do follow me on social media. Don't let that define me. I'm very like jokey. I
No,
post
yeah, I know.
mostly
Yeah.
nonsense because that is just like the pod social media. It's not the personal. Um,
Mhm.
so it's very
Yeah,
very
yeah.
much like who the hell is this guy?
No, yeah. I mean, yeah, you're trying to like have fun and like,
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
just
it's supposed to
it's
be fun.
literally
Otherwise, just
yeah.
fucking this. What is this? My day job? Like, yeah, we're just
Right,
trying to have fun here.
exactly.
Like, yeah.
Do you have was this like your one book or do you have any plans in the future? Is there anything
I
I
definitely
know
have
this is
zero
fresh,
plans to
so
write another
yeah, I
book.
know this is
Yeah,
fresh.
I
So
have zero plans to ever write another book. Writing a book is so insanely painful that
oh man.
I can never ever do it again, again, to be honest. The only thing I could maybe do is take this book and add blank pages so you can just write in the book, write the
Mm,
answers. That's something
yeah,
I thought about, turn it into a journal.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be
That's
fun.
not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea, yeah. But that's I can never write another book. It's like so hard. um, but I really want to get into public speaking.
Hmm.
Um, I think the book was a public talk at
Yeah.
one point, and I turned it into a book, so it could very easily be turned back into a talk. I have this. I don't have stage fright. I don't know why. I really just never had it. I don't know why. I feel very fortunate, but
Hmm.
I can just get on stage and talk to an audience of 2,000 people the same way I'm talking to you. Like it just doesn't bug me.
Right.
I think I'm good at it. I think I have a good message. So I really want to, get into that. And I want to just like, get on as just, I want as many people to read it as possible.
Oh yeah, why wouldn't
Not
you?
because I
It's
want the money or anything. It's just like,
right.
I just think it'll help people. And that's kind of why I wrote it. Um, and yeah, that's kind of my goal is to just get as many people. My ultimate goal, here's my goal. My ultimate goal, and this is the who do you want to be question.
Mhm.
My ultimate goal is to be a guest on the Joe Rogan podcast one day.
There you
That
go.
is my North Star.
Yeah.
And I'm not clueless. I know
Oh
that
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, of
the odds
course.
of me
But
doing
that's
the job.
why that's what makes
Yeah,
it fun though. That's literally
yeah.
their whole thing. It's like that's what it's supposed to be. Is like that big grandiose thing. Like that's literally the point. Like
Hmm.
why wouldn't you have a goal that big? Whether or not you reach it obviously is one thing, or like you said, you're not clueless is another thing. But why not set like such a big fucking high bar? And these aren't like major things, but like when I first started this, it was just supposed to be supporting, I have friends in like bands, I have comedian friends from stand up, just shit like that. It was just supposed to be helping locals have somewhere to talk their thing.
Oh,
And, I've had Sam Alvey, who's an ex UFC fighter, karate combat champion. I've had an NFL player on, you know what I mean? So it's not
sick.
like, yeah, so it's not, and that's not me being like, I've had this, that, and the
Yeah,
third,
yeah, yeah,
because, but
yeah.
like, my goal was already, the main goal was already like kind of surpassed. It's like, okay, well,
Hmm.
now it's something else. So now I have to set like that big thing. And I don't really know what that's going to be yet, which is fun because, again, it was never the plan. Like,
Yeah.
so, but like, why not set such a high bar, and have fun trying to get to that, whether it be through um, public speaking, something like that, like you were talking about, or whatever it might be, just be getting on that. I'm just a blip on his radar, even just somebody on the team.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, listen, it's very simple. If I want to be a guest on the Joe Rogan podcast, he needs to know about me.
Yeah.
How does he know about me? He reads books, he listens to podcasts. Okay, I gotta get my book out there. I gotta get in a lot of podcasts. I
Hmm.
gotta get a decent social media following. I gotta maybe message every single person he follows on Instagram and send them my book and say, "Can
Yeah.
you please
Right.
read this and post it?" Like, at very least, it gives you something to work on.
Yeah.
At very
Exactly.
least, if you have a
Exactly.
North Star, even if it's 4,000 miles away, you got a direction to walk and you can kind of see where you need to go. And it kind of goes back to my original point of like, once you're out of school, you don't really know what to do.
Hmm.
No, there's no teacher saying you need to finish these 4 chapters or anything like that. So at very least, a big dream will give you something to work on.
100%. And you're, one of the things you touched on is just, it was maybe a joke, but just messaging everybody he follows, the way, the amount of messages I have to people who will never fucking
Yeah,
open them is
yeah,
so funny.
I know.
And it's like, but again, it's just maybe somebody does one day. Why the fuck not just send the message? Who cares?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I actually had a little success with that. I messaged, Charles Duhigg. He wrote the book Super Communicators, The
I've heard,
Power of Habit.
yep. I've heard of the
So
book.
yeah, yeah. So I sent him an email last week, and he responded.
Oh,
He
there
was
you
like,
go.
"Hey,
Yeah.
thanks for sending the email. I sent him my book. He didn't read it obviously, but he's like, hey, your book, your premise sounds pretty cool. Good luck on the podcast tour. Thanks for the email." Um, Sometimes it's like little things like that that will like motivate you to be
Yeah, it
like, oh,
does.
it is, it is possible.
It
You know
does.
what I mean?
Yeah. I've had people, they won't be on the pod, but they've at least responded.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of them are, yeah, I'll come on for X amount of money. And it's like, well, hold on. Let's circle back in a couple of years. Maybe I'll have more of a following and it'll be
Yeah,
less of a amount of money. But
yeah.
like, even that is like, cool. If I did throw the money at this person, there's a chance they come on. And that felt good that they even opened the message and responded. I don't care if you say no. I really
Hmm.
don't. If you
Hmm.
say I'm not interested in your pod, I'm cool. Thank you for trying or even acknowledging that I sent you the message. And
Yeah.
so yeah, it's kind of the same thing where it's just that's a little win in itself, whether or not you get the result that you thought you were going to get by sending that message.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It costs nothing to try. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
And
yeah.
that's one of the things that I liked about the book was it kind of that's a message within the message for sure is just try and figure these things out whether or not you can answer the question right away
Hmm.
that you might have asked to open up a chapter or whatnot. You now have something to work toward trying to answer in the future.
Hmm. Yeah, and I also noticed like once these questions enter your brain, and maybe you'll notice
Hmm.
this as time goes on, once they enter your brain, you'll be surprised how much you're working on it without even knowing, um,
Yeah.
and how many like pieces are starting to be put together without you even trying. Until maybe one day you'll hear something or you see something, and you'll be like, oh shit, like that is helpful. Like, the book, it took me fucking 10 years to figure these things out. Like this isn't an
Right.
overnight thing.
Yeah, I was
Um,
gonna ask that. I was gonna sorry to cut you off, I didn't mean to.
yeah, no, no,
um but I was gonna ask, like, you talk a lot about being in finance and speaking to those. Is that really when the book started? Like really at your 9 to 5, so to speak? And then you were like, how old were you? I know you said you're 34 now
yeah,
when you really started this thing.
yeah. I would have been, I don't know, 24 or
Yeah.
25. Yeah, when that talk happened. Um, yeah, I mean, it was never. I didn't do that talk and think I got to make that a book.
Right.
I
Right.
did that talk and said and thought I got such a great response from it. I remember my colleagues really coming up to me and like genuinely saying how much they enjoyed it.
Hmm.
And then I remember a guy who was supposed to talk after me. His name was Steve, and he was like a professional talker, like a
Yeah.
professional
Right.
public. That was his full-time job, is to go to
Yeah.
these things and talk. And he came up to me and he goes, "That was really really good." And I'm like, "Oh, thank you." He goes, "Do you do that a lot?" And I'm like, "No, it was my first time." And then he went, "You should do that a lot." And then that was it. And then he
Yeah.
did his talk and he left. And it's just like, and because then those things just make you think like maybe there's something more here.
Hmm.
And really, like when you're going through life and you're trying things, all you're looking for is like something that might stick, something that
Hmm.
resonates. No, a lot of your actions are just like you'll do it and you won't think about it. And I think what we're either consciously or subconsciously looking for is like doing something and having that feeling of maybe there's more here. And after the talk, I really had this feeling of there's more to this. And keep in mind the talk was whatever 2015, 2016,
Yeah.
and the book came out in 2022 or
Yep.
whatever it
Yep.
was. So it wasn't this like overnight thing. It was, again, it entered my brain. It became a puzzle that was thrown on the floor, and without me even knowing it, pieces were being put together until one point I thought, I'd really like to write a book. What could I write a book about? What about that talk I gave in 2015?
Mm.
Maybe I could
Mm.
write that. That talk, each of those questions could be a chapter, and then that could be a part of a book. And then I remember I talked about a roadmap. Maybe I can draw the roadmap for people so they can draw their own roadmap. And it's just like these things slowly come together. The problem is when you hear this story on TV, everything happened within fucking 8 minutes.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Every time.
So you don't. So then the same thing happens to you, and it doesn't happen overnight, and you go, oh well, it must not be for me because it didn't just fucking click overnight.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I think that was like the big part of it was like I knew I wanted to write a book, and I remembered this great moment I had, and it kind of clicked from there.
Yeah, and you have the audiobook, you have the digital format, and you have physicals as well, right? You have the
Yeah, yeah,
paperbacks, I believe, right? There you
yeah,
go,
right,
right there. And
yeah.
that'll be everything will be right in the link of the episode for sure. This will come out. The goal is tomorrow, actually. And
Nice, thank you.
then yeah, of course. And if not, Friday the latest, so 8-9. But
Mm,
you know, when you guys are fucking listening, you'll know when it came out.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, no, that's definitely the goal. I like to try and get everything out as fast as possible, just because the sooner I get it out there, sooner hopefully people discover you, and that's always the goal with this thing.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, something you said where it was for me, it's interesting because I'm a fucking trier. I love just trying shit. I don't
mm,
care how
mm,
well I do at first.
yeah.
Um, and people always like because you listen to this pod and I've talked about like being in a band. I've talked about like stand-up comedy. I talk about being a fucking realtor for a couple months. And it's just like and it all led to like this thing that I'm doing now. And it's for a lot of people it might come off as he's just giving up on things, whatever it might be. But for me, it's like, no, I didn't think I was going to be a professional MMA fighter. Did that too. I didn't think I was going to be like John Jones. You know what I mean? It
Mm,
was just
mm,
I want to try this thing. I like this sport. It looks fun. I know people that are doing it. I know people who aren't doing it well and they love it. So why the fuck might I not love it? Um, and all these things just, and of course, unfolded and turned into this, which is great. But I don't get to this without trying all fucking five of those things. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I'm big on at least trying something. If you had that thought where you had that thought, I want to write a book. What the fuck can the book be about?
Mm,
Well, you don't have this book idea if you didn't try your best at that speech and give that speech. So
hmm
I find that really cool that it all kind of snowballs into something bigger.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's like without maybe you notice this, maybe you don't, but like being the person who tries things
Hmm.
becomes part of your personality,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it shows like even if you didn't necessarily become John Jones or the number one realtor in the country or whatever, like
right.
you, that those stories are still part of you.
Hmm.
The things you learned are still part of you. You have these experiences, and that in turn has created you who you are. Like there's a great quote where it says, I don't remember the effect every book I've read has had on me. The same way I don't remember the effect every meal has had on me. But I
Hmm.
know it's made me who I am today. So it's the same thing with like trying activities is like,
Yeah.
do I know exactly what I learned when I was a drummer in a band? No, but it made me who I am today. And I like
Hmm.
who I am today, or I like who I'm becoming at very least. So it was a necessary thing to do in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. I that's probably honestly, yeah, that hits the nail on the head for me.
Mm,
Um, and especially something like mixed martial arts. We'll just get back to that. I mean, that's not a small thing. You had to go into a gym and you have to get beat up. Like you have to
mm,
volunteer to put your mental on the line, your physical on the line, and that's you become coachable. Just little things like that you can also take with you into other aspects for sure. It is funny that you brought up stage fright because I had just had this conversation with my wife the other. She got a promotion and it might require her
nice.
to speak at something or have these sort of conferences and whatnot. And for me, I don't like speaking on stage either, which is fucking hilarious considering everything that I've done. It's either
Mhm,
been on stage or this. So it's like,
mhm. Yeah, yeah.
but she's like, "What are you talking about?" Or my buddy's like, "What do you do? How do you not?" And I'm like, I don't know. There's a difference between the idea of talking on stage. That's what I think I don't like.
Mm,
I don't like the idea of getting on stage because you don't always know how it'll be perceived. But then once
mhm.
you're up there, it's just like flow state. You're kind of just doing your thing and it hits you right there. But you brought up stage fright, and it always makes me laugh when somebody does because I personally, the idea of getting on stage scares the shit out of me, despite everything that I've done this far.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
And
it's tough for a lot of people.
yeah,
It's funny talking about stand-up comedy. I have a great stand-up comedy story because I was in Los Angeles February 2020, just before
okay.
the world
Oh
collapsed,
man, yeah.
and I wanted to go to a lot of. I went by myself. I
Hmm.
wanted to go to a lot of stand-up comedy shows, but in LA, especially at the time, if you didn't buy tickets in advance, good fucking luck.
Dude, you were yeah. There was no fucking way.
No chance. So the only thing I could get into was a Sunday night open mic night at the Improv in
Okay,
LA.
okay.
So I go and I'm in the back, and in the back is where the lady who you're trying to impress is sitting. So
Yeah.
everyone's coming up to her and like introducing themselves and stuff like that. And this guy whose name I can't remember, let's call him Tim or whatever.
Hmm.
He was on the list and he goes, someone asked you wanted to go first. He goes, yeah, you want me to go first? Sure, I'll go first. Hell yeah, no problem. And he just had this confidence where I'm like, this guy's gonna go up there and fucking rip this place
He's gonna
apart.
fucking kill. Yeah.
He went up there, Chris. Forget about forget about no laughs. Not not a burp, not a pencil hitting the floor, not someone putting their glass down. No one moved their
No.
chairs. No one
Oh
sneezed.
my god.
Just for 5 minutes straight, pin drop silence.
No.
And I'm just like, and I'm like, this is why people were scared to get on stage.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Because if you see this, you're like, I'm not fucking going up there.
It's so funny as like from a comedian standpoint, watching your friends bomb is the funniest fucking thing in the world because you know how uncomfortable it is
Yeah.
if you've bombed before. So like we were at the Funny Bone in my area
Nice.
and a buddy of mine does tell very, on the edge type jokes
Mhm.
and his closer I'll say it. I don't I don't care. But his closer was essentially, how the Holocaust didn't happen. I say it was a joke. I'm not gonna
Mm.
say it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, and he screams it like I said something real is the punchline of it. And I swear to God, when I say you could hear a car outside drive by,
Uh,
and we're in a mall at the
God.
Funny Bone. The
Oh
only
man.
laughs that came through were like me and three other comedians that were performing that night laughing at the bomb because it's like, oh man, it was a contest too. So his name didn't get picked by anybody but like the people he brought. What's up, guys? We're gonna take a break from this episode so I can talk to you guys about Dubby. What is Dubby? Dubby is a clean energy drink company that will help you power through your day without jitters. Dubby is packed with clean ingredients, free of artificial additives, a lot of stuff that'll help you keep focused and energized. And they also have tubs for hydration. They have shakers if you need a shaker for your powders, whether it be the energy or the hydration tub. And they also have introduced cans so that they can try harder to compete with the big energy drink companies that, you have those in your midday and you might feel crash, you might feel a little bit shaky, whatever it might be. With Dubby, I never experienced that, and I also find myself needing less of a caffeine boost throughout the day. I could make a shaker, and it'll get me through a work day and a recording session and more. So right now, W is offering 10% off at checkout if you use promo code Chewin. That is promo code Chewin at w.gg or use the link in the description and use promo code Chewin, Chewin. There's no G on that to save 10% on your order. Say goodbye to jitters and hello to sustained energy. Next, I want to talk about Sticker Mule. Are you a small business owner? Are you looking for high quality merch printing services? Are you looking for stickers, custom labels? Really, everything you need to showcase your brand in style. I use Sticker Mule for my label bags, which I would just kind of just throw in stickers from Sticker Mule, honestly. And these stickers right here on the microphone, if you are watching video, it's a little crinkly, but this thing has been on here for probably close to a year now and has not come off. Very high quality, very fast. They send you a proof of everything they're doing to make sure you're happy with the product before they ship it. And if you do have any questions, concerns, they have a great customer service team that works with you. And they are also a small local business in my area. So we try to support them as much as we can. And right now, if you go to stickermule.com, link in the description, if you use that link specifically, you will save $10 on your order just by signing up with Sticker Mule through that link. Again, link in the description. Please click that, use the referral code, and you will save $10 on your order with Sticker Mule, making an inexpensive product even less expensive. Last but not least, I would like to welcome New Recover to the pod and thank them for endorsing and sponsoring the podcast. Are you looking to take your recovery to the next level? New Recover has it's your one-stop shop for in-home saunas, cold plunges, and more. Literally, I used the cold plunge the other day, and it looks weird, It's just it was super easy. It takes about 5 minutes to set up, and you're like, okay, well, how sturdy is this thing? I'm a larger guy. I don't know if you could tell from this angle, but I'm shorter and just a big dude. I'm over 230, and I can get in this thing, head underwater. You kind of just lift your knees up a little bit. It looks super awkward, but it's actually very comfortable, and it's not what I expected at all. When I first opened this thing, I was like, "There's no way. It's way too small. I'm gonna be too big for this. It's gonna be uncomfortable." Got right in, did 3 minutes, and they ship with you have options. They have a sauna package that comes with a sauna and cold plunge. You can also get a chiller for your cold plunge. You can just do the bags of ice in the cold plunge. Mine specifically, I didn't do the chiller, but it did still come with a thermometer, a pillow, and everything else. And right now, if you go to New Recover, link in the description, and you use Chewin at checkout, same exact thing, Chewin, you will save 20% on your order. Again, Chewin at checkout, save 20% on your order. Don't let sore muscles slow you down. Invest in your recovery with New Recover today. If you guys are enjoying the pod show, please be sure to go to chewintheragpodcast.com. That has all of our platform links. Wherever you can find the podcast or wherever you listen to podcasts are there. We also have a merch store. You can see old podcast clips. We're constantly updating it. Our Discord should be in there as well, which you can join. We've got gaming clips hopefully coming soon because we are branching out and kind of just doing a whole entertainment thing under Chewin the Rag umbrella. So if you go to chewintheragpodcast.com, please like, rate, subscribe, share all the fun stuff to help out the pod show. And let's get back to it. It was just
Yeah.
like, dude, it's so funny when I hear about people bombing because it's not like I haven't. If you've gone on stage and you tried to tell jokes at one point or another, whether it was your first time or 50th time, you've bombed.
Yeah,
Like,
of course.
it's
Yeah.
like naturally, not everybody's going to think everything you think is funny. And
Mm-hmm.
even you might not think it's funny. You're just trying to pander to people. That was an issue. It was actually funny enough. Kevin Hart had a book where he talked about this, and it kind of shaped a lot of things with me. And I've credited him before with it. Is when he first started out, a lot of his jokes were just trying to get a laugh.
Mm,
They didn't really connect to him, and
mm,
somebody called him out on it. They were like, when are you gonna start talking about yourself, or like, you could tell that you're just talking at the audience. You're not
mm,
really in it for that. You're just trying to get the laugh. So in the beginning, that's how I was. I was telling Barry, and some of it was true, but you would try to put like the edgiest twist on it. You would try to make it
mm,
just gross, try to get that laugh, and maybe it worked. But did I really think it was funny? It's like not really. I knew
yeah.
somebody else would.
Yeah.
They're not expecting that disgusting twist at the end, so that they might get a chuckle. But is
Mhm.
that what you want? You just want the chuckle because of the twist, or do you want them to laugh because it was funny? And
Yeah.
so that kind of shaped uh how I told jokes or how I told stories and whatnot, because I had a kind of ridiculous childhood in the sense that it wasn't great, but like
Mhm.
you can get funny things from that not great childhood.
Mhm.
Obviously you have to exaggerate certain things. It's
Mhm.
the same thing as in rap or any type of music, you know what I mean? You're
Yeah.
always
Yeah. Yeah.
trying to get the
Yeah.
exaggerated point and make it funny. So there was definitely something, a learning curve for sure, where you
Yeah.
don't really talk at people. Um,
Yeah.
that I've
Yeah.
tried to carry on to this point. But man, bombing is just I said it on my buddy's pod where it's like I didn't mind bombing because as
Mhm.
uncomfortable as it is, you're gonna joke about it with your buddies when you get off stage and they're
Yeah.
gonna make fun of you and it's funny now. Like
Yeah.
I bombed. Who gives a fuck, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I didn't mind bombing. I thought it was hilarious and it's 10 times funnier when it happens to somebody else.
Yeah. It's also
It's
like a
just
necessary like rite of passage. Like
yeah, right.
alive.
If
Yeah.
you're lifting weights, you're not like immediately picking up the heaviest weight. Like you have to,
Yes.
you're gonna get those looks in the gym where it's like, oh, this guy's got the 15 pounder. You know what I mean? Just something
Yeah.
stupid like that. And then eventually, if you keep at it, you get stronger. It's like literally anything is like that, honestly.
Mhm.
It's just
Absolutely.
the
Yeah.
reps.
Yep. That's just the reps, man. Um. Yeah. It's funny. I remember when I was in that L.A. Another again. I didn't buy tickets, so I went to uh the Comedy Store,
Hmm.
and it was like Monday night, and it was, I guess I wasn't thinking. It was called Chocolates. No, it was on a Sunday.
Oh,
It was called
chocolate
Chocolate
Sunday.
Sundays.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
but I didn't know what Chocolate Sunday was. So I show up
Yeah.
and I'm like, hey, I'd love to buy a ticket to Chocolate Sunday. And the lady at the front goes, okay. And then I remember this vividly. She goes, there's usually a 2 drink minimum,
Yeah.
but don't worry about it. She's like, don't worry about it. I'm like, that's strange. If there's a rule, why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
And then I
Yeah.
get there and I still don't really understand what's the deal. I'm kind of like a little. This is a
Oh
close to a
man.
guest. This is like a guest bombing. That's what I felt like
Yeah,
I was.
yeah,
Guest
that's
bombing.
exactly yeah.
And anyway, at some point, I figured out like, oh, I'm the only white guy here.
Yeah.
But what I will say is the headliner, whose name I cannot remember, the headliner came up to, because like the cool thing is the comedians are just sitting around
Yeah,
at
yeah,
the bar
always.
too.
They're just yeah. Hmm.
And I remember the headliner coming up to me and saying, "It's probably very awkward to be the only white guy here, but I really appreciate you being here." And I'm like, "Oh, thank you." And I think at that point I clicked like, "Oh, I'm not supposed to."
Yeah, yeah, right. Like this isn't for me. It's not supposed to be for me, rather. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
They as soon as you said chocolate, I was like, oh, I know where this that's hilarious. It's that's been a page. They have an Instagram page actually for chocolate sundaes.
Okay.
And it's been a page that I followed. Well, I did comedy in 2018, 2019. So since then,
Mm.
and like yeah, it's literally there's probably a white guy in the audience every like fifth show. It might be
Yeah.
more popular now, but like
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
the time to see a white guy in the audience, that's seeing Santa Claus, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So strange. Yeah. You should. I mean, if you're ever in LA, you should go. It's like it's a lot of fun. Like because
Yeah,
they like
there's
play music between sets too, and
yeah,
everyone
yeah.
sings and like that's sick. Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
They're super funny. Like the people they have on, and they don't always have like the most popular person. You're not gonna see a Chris Rock there all the time,
Hmm.
but like even the up and coming guys, because they'll show clips and whatnot. They're very funny. I don't know how it was that night, but a lot of them are
That's
very
great.
talented. Yeah, super funny people on that show. But yeah, that is hilarious to find yourself in that situation. It's so tough. You were going at like peak because right before the
Mm-hmm.
pandemic, like peak LA comedy
Mm-hmm.
was probably then, comedy store, you had to get tickets 7 months in fucking advance. I don't know how it is now, but I can't imagine it's as good. That's what
Yeah, I don't think it's
Austin's
like that anymore.
becoming.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Like,
Austin is becoming like that now. Yeah. Yeah, when I was there, I was like I'd show up. I showed up to the
yeah,
comedy store like, is there any and they're
yeah,
like, buddy,
yeah.
like
You can tell you're not from around here.
Yeah, yeah. It's like try 8 months ago. It was a Laugh Factory, that chocolate sundaes. Now
Yeah,
the
yeah,
company
yeah,
starts
yep,
a Laugh
yep,
Factory. Yeah, yeah.
yep. Good call. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, good fun.
That's so funny. Have you ever thought, you were talking about, um, you know, kind of doing like a pod tour, doing your own, public speaking tour. Have you ever thought about just having a pod yourself? Has it
I
come
I
across your mind?
do. I did. It's the promotion that like
Yeah, it's
fucking is just the grind that I don't.
yeah.
I'd much rather go on your come on your podcast. I'm happy to
Hmm.
stay as long as you want, and then I close the laptop, and then you can go fucking tweet about it. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
you have to go. You have to edit it. You have to share it. It's your fucking
Exactly.
problem now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's like I know myself. Like
Yeah,
that's not me. It's not me.
yeah,
If I was at the point where like I was already famous
yeah. See,
and I could hire someone to do all this shit,
hmm,
gladly. But to like you know better than I do, the early days of like the editing, the cutting, the
yeah,
promoting, like the posting,
dude.
the write the description, get the photo, book the guest, like oh god, bro, like no, that's not
Yeah,
me.
no, I literally like I use my logo as every thumbnail. I probably shouldn't, should probably get a little bit more catchy with that. But like
Mhm,
I'm such a bare minimum when it comes to that. And then you have to write the description, like you said. It is, more work than I give myself credit for, I think.
mm,
But I think
it
it's
is.
because I'm having fun doing it. Um, yeah, if you're not somebody who wants to do that, it's like
Yeah, no,
fuck doing any of that. I'll make it
yeah.
your job. That was a tough thing with me, even. You know, uh, you don't have a following already. It's like, why are
Mm,
you starting this thing up? You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
That's like the first question I think that popped up is who are you? Why do you think you need a platform? And it's
Yeah.
like you don't have this core following that somebody who might have been doing comedy for 15 years has, and now they're
Mhm.
starting a pod. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that initial thought definitely popped in my head.
What a lot of your favorite comedians had podcasts way before
Way
anyone who
before.
knew
Oh
who the
yeah.
fuck they are.
Hmm. And I think that came from Rogan for sure. He had a big hand in because they started in a fucking room dingier than what I'm in right now.
Mhm.
And it's like, and he was telling everybody, like, get on board, get on board.
Mhm.
So those guys have been at it for way longer than any of us will fucking actually know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it
Definitely.
was it was definitely a thought where it was, why am I starting this? Who are you? I tried it with clothing too. I had a clothing line, and one of the first questions somebody that wasn't me asked was like, "Why do you have a this was I was in like high school. They were like, "Why do you need a clothing line? Like, what are you fucking Jay-Z? You need
Yeah.
Rockaware?" And it's like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I just liked fashion. I liked, I don't know what it was. My son got a like toy diecast El Camino,
Hmm.
and I was like, that was the car I wanted when I was a kid. And my son was laughing or whatever. And I was like, I thought I was like a West Coast rapper or something. I don't fucking know. And my wife goes, "You still think you're a West Coast
Yeah.
rapper?" And it's like, I don't know. I just
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Oh
have
man.
these things that I like for certain reasons. I don't fucking know.
Yeah. 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 And then whenever people were like, "Why would anyone listen to you?" I go,
Yeah,
don't
that's
fucking
the thing.
listen.
Like,
Don't
I
give a
don't
shit."
don't buy the fucking t-shirt, and they didn't. But
Yeah.
still, like
Exactly.
the the amount of shirts I got rid of is embarrassing.
Yeah.
I just my wife was wearing a hoodie from like that, and this was before I even knew you.
Mm.
I didn't know you fucking existed. And it's weird when I see that sweatshirt
So
pop up,
cool.
and it's like, it is cool that I did it. It's
Yeah.
one of
Yeah.
those things that we talked about earlier, where it's a little part of what's now. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think your time is better spent finding people who connect with what you're saying rather than trying to
yeah,
convince people.
yeah. I don't have time to convince anybody. It's
Yeah,
like, if
yeah,
you enjoy it, and I'll tell you myself, like the solo episodes, they're
hmm
not the most exciting to listen to because
yeah,
you're just one guy, you don't some people have it, Bill Burr can sit there and fucking yell in an empty room and people love
hmm
it.
hmm
I sit there and yell in an empty room and it's like, what the fuck is this guy talking about?
But you know what? Like, I used to listen to a ton of Bill Burr. Like, not all of those episodes were fucking home
No,
runs.
they're really not. Like there are certain ones that are great,
Hmm
and then there are ones where it's like I probably could skip this.
Yeah,
Like,
and I think it's like he can get away with that because he already has this massive
yeah,
train that's already
yeah,
rolling. So
exactly.
a couple of speed bumps, who gives a shit?
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think some people think like not every Rogan episode is great. Not every fucking
yeah,
Modern Wisdom episode is great.
that's true. That's
Like
true.
there's a like I think it's like you put this pressure on yourself that like every episode needs to be a home run. Like
Yeah,
you can also just kind of like be figuring it out and trying shit and like
right.
seeing where it goes.
I think I've gotten better with that. Before I would say at the end of a solo episode, like, I know these are pretty boring, like, but now I don't even do that because why am I signing off putting a negative thought in somebody's head that made it this far? If they made it this far, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I
exactly.
I definitely stopped doing that. I've also come to appreciate the solo episodes because they're usually like 30, 45 minutes. They're
Hmm.
quicker.
Hmm.
So it's just more time I get to go do whatever else, you know?
Yeah.
It's a different appreciation. Like I appreciate these. I had somebody on here for 2.5 hours recently. That was cool. And
Oh, yeah.
like, yeah, I appreciated that because again, who the fuck wants to sit here and talk to me for 2.5 hours? I appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah,
But it's a different type of, appreciation for sure because
yeah,
they just offer different things.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, yeah. What I'm curious. You said you're a well, not a recent dad, but like your son's four, turning
Recent
five. Like
enough. Yeah.
recent enough. Yeah. Like what's the I would say the thing that surprised you the most about becoming a dad.
So everybody gives you like this really cliche
Mm,
blueprint where it's like, oh, your wife's pregnant, better go get your sleep now. And
mm-hmm,
it's like
mm-hmm.
the sleep isn't even close to the fucking issue when it
Yeah,
comes
yeah.
to for him specifically, it was how much it's a very weird case because he has so many food allergies.
Mm.
Um that was never something that anybody talked about.
Yeah.
It was learn how to change a diaper. Well, I already know how to do that. Learn how to
Mm,
cook. I know how to do that. Get your sleep. I can fucking sleep. Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
What you don't prepare for is how much, for me personally, how many like labels I'm reading. Like, does this have egg in it? He
Mm,
can't have it. Does this have dairy in it? He can't have it. Tree nuts, peanuts. He can't have like
mm,
he legit has all these allergies. So it's the little things like that that you don't think about, or like how much sunscreen to put on a kid, these
mm.
fucking guys, he needs sunscreen more than anybody I know.
Yeah, yeah,
It's so many minor details, how fast he fucking grows.
yeah,
He's not 5 yet, but he's wearing 5Ts, the label,
yeah.
clothing. It's so many minor things that people do not warn you. And you appreciate every bit of advice, when it's good advice.
Mm-hmm.
Um for it's just it's so different. The
Mm,
thing that like, and you don't think you can care, it's the most cliche thing ever, but
mm,
like, I'm not a very expressive person to say,
mm,
I'm not. My wife knows I love her, my son
mm-hmm.
knows I love him. I may not do a backflip every time they come in the room, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But like, it's a weird different kind of love when a kid is brought into it. It's very strange. I love my wife to death, but like, it's just very it's I don't know if that's probably the most cliche thing that is true.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
the first time you like hold your son or daughter or whatever it might be, uh the first time they talk to you, laugh, like, it's very weird. It's a different type of emotion that you don't expect.
Right. Yeah.
Nothing can prepare you for it. It's very strange.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, I don't think anyone says, "Oh, you're having a baby. Watch out for tomatoes. He might be
Yeah, yeah,
allergic." Like no one
that's the
fucking
thing.
says
And
that.
he
Yeah.
was, damn it.
Yeah. Yeah.
He outgrew that one, but it came back on the damn sheet.
Oh no.
He had, I mean, literally peanut, tree nut, dairy, wheat,
Yeah.
tomato, which was very little, but it was on there.
Yeah.
Egg. He outgrew wheat, so you can have that. But like, yeah, like you said, nobody prepares you for that. Nobody says
Yeah.
like, just be careful of scrambled eggs. Like,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
the fuck are you talking about?
I know. Yeah. That doesn't come up much.
No, no, little things like that that people don't expect.
Mm-hmm.
Food allergies, behavioral, just every child is different. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the whole like, if you have two kids, well, this kid was like this kid's like that, and you're like, yeah, but it's parenting. It's like, no, it's really not. They are
Mm,
their own person. They're
mm,
very expressive in different ways. It's really cool to like
yeah,
watch them become their own person. And it's also cool to see how much of you they pick up on. It's
yeah.
which isn't always great. I swear a lot. I'm very
Mm,
good with not swearing in front of him because he will repeat everything. Um,
yeah,
but it's really cool to watch a mix of you, your wife, and then them being their own person kind of develop into a human. Um, and I think now, like 4 to 5 is definitely the most expressive age so far. So I think we're getting into like the really cool part. He's starting to show his own interests, stuff like that.
that's awesome, man. Yeah, it
Yeah,
sounds awesome.
yeah, no, it's fun. Are you and your wife planning on children? Interested in children? I know you talk about, uh, being a family man in your book, but I don't
Hmm.
know how much of that is, uh, in the near future to say.
Yeah, I think it's in the cards.
Yeah.
Sometimes um, my sister has two kids, and sometimes we'll
Mhm.
babysit, and I'll be like, that was a lot of work.
It
Like,
is. It is work.
wow. Well, like, it's really nice that we got to leave that house. Um,
It's like podcasting for you.
yeah. Oh man, is this a recurring theme where I just like to show up, hang out for a little bit, and then leave? That's actually an incredibly good point. Um, yeah, so maybe there's a little bit of that. I don't know. We just got married 2 months ago, so like it's
Yeah.
still pretty fresh. But I think yeah, I would say it's in the cards for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It is different. I didn't have well, I have a niece technically, but I didn't really have like a niece or nephew type dynamic where I got to witness that so much on my side, but her sister has a son who is a couple of years older than my son. So we kind of had that a little bit with him.
Hmm.
And they're so different as people where
Yeah.
like my son and his cousin are just not the same. My
Yeah.
son's very like extroverted, will talk to anybody. At
Hmm.
T-ball, he's dancing on the fence for like the parents, and it's like, dude, pay attention to the damn ball. You know
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
he's very introverted. When they were in their T-ball parade looking down at the ground, like, I don't want to see all these fucking people.
Yeah.
So, and it was interesting where you think you have an idea of like how much work it's going to be or what it's going to be like having a kid.
You have no clue.
And then yeah. And not to
Yeah.
say that's what you think, but and
Oh,
then
I
you
know. I
have
have
your
no clue. I know.
yeah,
I'm
no,
clueless. Yeah.
and then you have your own and you're like, this is a different fucking animal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it could be in the most fun way. There's also times where I don't think anybody in the world can make me more mad than this kid,
Yeah.
whether or not I show that to him. But it's like, God damn it, dude.
Yeah. 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 I know.
It's
Yeah.
super fun. It's
I believe it.
probably one of the more fun things that I've done is be a dad. It's like everything's more fun with him. I don't he likes fishing. That's his big fucking thing right now, which is hilarious cuz
Sick.
like when I was younger, fishing was one of those things that we did because we didn't have a lot of money and it can be as cheap or expensive as you make it. You could buy a thing of worms for $3 or you can buy a $50 fucking lure. You know what I mean? And we didn't
Hmm.
have a lot of money. So um that's how we got into it. I didn't really do it a lot in my 20s. And then when I had him, it was just one of those activities where it's like, I'll get back into it, see how he likes it. And he's fucking fishing obsessed now. Like every night, let's go to the boat launch, let's fish.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fine. But like it's a very I don't even know how the fuck I just got on that topic, which is
Yeah. Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Yeah. Yeah. I know
What
what
the
you mean.
fuck
though. Like
was
it's
I
just.
talking about?
Well, it's just about this. Like, just kids will just drive you to do
Yeah,
wild
yeah,
things, and you just have
yeah.
no clue what's coming, and like,
It's like,
yeah. Yeah.
where the fuck did this come from? You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it's very fun. It's very fun.
Yeah.
I think
That's
that's what I
awesome.
was talking about is how much fun it is.
Yeah.
I'm doing things. That's what it was. All right, we're back. We figured
Yeah.
it out.
Yeah.
Welcome to Chewing the Rag. This is
Yeah. Yeah.
literally what it is all the time. But things like I mentioned MMA. Going to the gym with him for the first time was so funny because
Mm.
I'll put a video up in this episode just in the corner. describing it, but like he was very little, and I had two big heavy bags set up, and I'm going to one, and then he's running to the other one, so I got to sidestep and go to the other one, and it's like you're getting a good workout in, and you're hitting the heavy bag, and you're also playing a game with this kid who doesn't realize that like you're working out. For him, it's just you're listening to me, you're chasing me back and forth, you're hitting the heavy bag, and
Mhm.
it's like little things like that. Like fishing, I wouldn't think fishing's that fun by myself with my wife. It would
Yeah, yeah.
be us kind of just hanging out, enjoying the water, but now I'm teaching him how to do something. I'm watching him catch a fish. Like that's more
Mhm.
fun. So
Mhm.
little things like that. That's what I was getting at is
Yeah.
how much more fun things are becoming because he's present and he's learning and he's involved in them.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, it sounds like a fucking wild ride.
It's
Yeah.
the wildest fucking ride.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, yeah.
we want another, so it's gonna get wilder.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
fucking
Yeah. It only multiplies.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's I'm excited. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. We're fucking redoing this house. That's why I'm in this little shack. I got a couple small pictures up and stuff to make it seem
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a room, but
Yeah, yeah.
we're redoing the house and trying to expand the family, expand the living situation, and just
Yeah.
expand
That's
everything.
sweet, man. That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. Sweet. This was a lot of fun, man. I appreciate
Yeah,
you having
no,
me on. This was awesome.
no, no, thank you, man. You're welcome anytime. I'm not gonna tell you to start a pod, but you're interesting to talk to.
Okay.
It'd be nice to if you do a tour, let me know. I'll come see you. That's what I'll say.
Okay. Appreciate it. So,
Do you have anything? No,
yeah,
go ahead.
I
Sorry.
wanted to ask, what was your big take from as much as you've listened to so far? What was your big takeaway?
Yeah. So, like I said, I still have about 2 hours to go.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty new to the book. My biggest takeaway, everything that I thought I knew regarding the easy questions or really the tough questions, I didn't know shit. So, who are you? I would always just be like, my name's Chris. I'm from this area. I do this. You know what I mean? Like you said, who do you want to be? I like to fucking move up in the company, just the
Mm-hmm.
bullshit.
Okay.
And with that book, just those two things alone, I don't want to answer those questions with bullshit anymore. I think that's my big takeaway is
Mm-hmm.
the book made me want to kind of rediscover who I am or how I view who I want to be. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
I think that's my big takeaway, and my takeaway might change as I finish it,
Yeah.
because like I said, I listen mostly while I'm driving.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I prefer audiobooks. Trying to
Yeah.
do an audiobook with a 4-year-old in the house will not happen.
Yeah. No.
Word to the wise.
No
um,
chance.
so I
Yeah.
listen mostly in the car or on like breaks and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
my answer may change,
Mm-hmm.
and I will do you the courtesy of messaging you if and when that happens and let
Okay.
you know, hey, it changed. But
Sweet.
right now, my big takeaway is just I wanted to be better at answering the hard questions, um, regarding myself and who I want to be and who I think I am.
Nice. That's awesome. I'm really
Yeah.
glad. I'm really glad you got that takeaway. And yeah, hopefully if you haven't read the book yet, it might sound like some like philosophical sit
Yeah,
around
that's
think
the
all day
thing.
book, but
I didn't
it's
want to,
not, and I don't want people to
yeah.
think it is. Like it is really about like trying to take action and improve. Um, but I think before you need to do that, you need to kind of think about where you are
Hmm.
today, where you want to go tomorrow. But one of the things I mention in the book, and I'll mention everyone here, is like it very much is an action book. It's a very action oriented book, and it's about making changes, not just about sitting around and thinking all day.
Yeah, no, it is. And I think that's kind of what I was trying to get at is like it made me want to take that action. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
when I said in the beginning, it doesn't really come off as a self-help type book. It comes off as a self-reflection type book. It makes you want to reflect. It makes you want to kind of like dive into your own way of thinking and how you think about yourself and how you may view where you're headed. So I am actually enjoying it. I'm not a big reader. Um,
Nice.
I'm a big listener. I love pods,
Hmm.
audiobooks, but like I am actually enjoying this. I wouldn't have you here. My whole thing with Chewing the Rag is I like to talk to people that interest me.
Mm.
That was always how I viewed it. And this caught my eye. I was excited to find your post because it helped me find the book, and here we are. So I encourage everybody, and I'll post a link to the book itself right in Amazon. Everybody has Amazon. I encourage you to get out there, get the get the hard copy. Don't be like me. Robert's great to listen to, but let's get some damn sales. Get the damn hard copy.
Yeah, awesome. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you having me on here. This was a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
no, it really was. Do you have anything you want to plug? Any social links or anything, or just get that book out there?
Yeah, yeah. If you can check it out, that would mean a lot to me. My contact info is in the book. You can reach out if you want to talk to me. I don't know why you would after you read the book, but yeah. But I hope people check it out, and I hope they like it. And I appreciate you having me on. This is a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
absolutely. Thank you, Robert, for coming on. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And be sure to go to the description of this video for that book.